Do you want to be able to do a Cossack squat like this? If so, you're gonna need to develop the ankle mobility, the hip mobility, and the strength to be able to do it. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how. We're gonna start off with ankle mobility because if you don't have enough ankle mobility, it's going to be impossible to get in the bottom position of a deep Cossack squat. There are millions, I don't know if there's millions, there are many of ankle mobility drills that you can do, and they're all fantastic, or maybe not all of them, but a lot of them are fantastic. I'm gonna show you one of my personal favorites, especially for the Cossack squat. The fancy name that I call it is the half kneeling weighted ankle mobilization. I'm sure there's something that's less fancy and easier than that, but that's just what I call it here and in the inner circle. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get in this position. Now I'm sitting on my back foot. You could get a pad or something behind if you want. This lead foot is gonna be your target. And you're gonna get a weight. Now this one is what? This is, it's 35 pounds, so it's relatively heavy. I don't recommend starting with something this heavy. I'd start with maybe like 10 or 15 pounds if you haven't done it before. And you're gonna keep your entire foot flat on the ground, okay? I don't want your heel coming off for this specific drill. Your foot is gonna be flat on the ground, and you're going to put a moderate weight right on top of your knee, and keeping your heel flat on the ground, you're gonna use this weight to drive your knee forward and over your toe. From here, let's say you don't have weight, for example, you don't have this much weight, you could just use your own weight to press down and assist getting down into this position. And the goal here is you're gonna feel the tendons and ligaments and muscles on the front as well as in the back stretching as you get deeper. And ideally, there are many ways to structure it, but just to start off as a basic way to improve your ankle mobility, about 2 to 3 times a week, I'd like you to sit in this position for 60 to 120 seconds. So 1 to 2 minutes a piece, several times a week. Now, another thing you can do here, I'm gonna show you from the front view. From the front view is in this position, very rarely are you just perfectly straight up and down like this. What you can start to do to just help like alleviate some of the blockages you'll feel in the front of your ankle is just move it side to side. So it's getting a little bit more dynamic with it. And again, just holding this stretch, breathing throughout and getting a little bit deeper for 1 to 2 minutes. And if you can do this for about 3 sets per session, 2 to 3 times per week, it's gonna start to massively improve your ankle mobility so you can get deeper into your Cossack squat. Moving on up, we're gonna work on your adductor mobility. Obviously, if you're looking at the Cossack squat, if you don't have enough adductor mobility, it's going to be impossible for you to get deep enough, and you're gonna feel a big stretch through the inside right here, where this is where your adductors are. One of my favorite mobility moves for the adductors is called a split stance adductor mobilization. And again, there are many adductor drills. This is just one of many. But the vast majority of people, especially if you sit down most of the day, if not all the day, and you don't really move, this is gonna hurt like a motherfucker, and it's a tremendous entry-level drill to get into improving your adductor mobility. From here, you're gonna start off by putting your base leg, your knee on the ground about directly underneath your hip, and your arms are gonna go out in front of you. From here, you're gonna have this leg outstretched in the same way that when you're doing a Cossack squat, you have this leg outstretched, okay? So from here, the only difference is if you can get your foot flat on the ground, great, it's gonna get a deeper stretch. If you can't, just have your foot facing up like that so the bottom of your foot is facing the wall. The main thing here is this. As you do this, I don't want this leg far back. That's no good. I want this leg up so it's about in line with your hip, okay? So from here, have your arms out in front, and all you're gonna do is push back. And if you wanna start having it nice and easy, you can go back and forth just doing 10 reps per side, or if you want, you can come back and you can hold, and you can put your arms down, you can sit here and rest and hold for more of a static stretch for 60 seconds or 2 minutes, and then you switch sides. So showing you from the side view, here I have my knee about directly beneath my hip. I have this leg here outstretched. If I can get my foot flat on the ground, great. If not, I can have it facing up here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to sit back to the wall behind me, and when you do this, you're gonna feel a nice big fucking stretch right through your adductor. And as you get better, you might be able to put this down here. And if you really want to start improving groin mobility, sort of an advanced variation of this is from this position. If this gets a little bit easier for you, well, then you can start pushing out and getting your groin in here. So when I started, I was like, you want your knee in line with your hip. But if you want to start getting your groin on the inside here, now you can start taking it a little bit wider and sitting down. And so you're stretching the groin on the left side and the adductor on the right side, which is also super helpful for the Cossack stretch. And what I would recommend is same thing with the ankle mobility, about 2 to 3 times a week, about 60 to 120 seconds per side is gonna be plenty. Now let's say mobility isn't your issue, but rather it's strength getting into the position and reversing yourself out of it. This is where we can start off with something like a lateral lunge to a box. Obviously, this is pretty high, but to start off, you wanna start off with a higher box so you can develop that strength. So what you're gonna see here is, I'm gonna do a lateral lunge to my left leg, sit down to the box, and come back up. This is obviously very easy for me, but if this gets easier and easier and easier, you take one off, and now you go a little bit deeper. So you can come down and come back up. And keep in mind, I'm keeping the exact same technique that I would for a Cossack squat, it's just less range of motion. That becomes easy. I take this off, and I do it again, and I come down and come back up. So what you're gonna notice is not only you're developing the strength, but you're also improving your mobility and your strength in this range. Keep in mind, this is something that's really important. A Cossack squat is a little bit different. I'm gonna go into the technique at the end of this video, but a Cossack squat is a little bit different than a lateral lunge because a lateral lunge, you often will sit really far back like this. Your knee isn't going in front of your toes. But with a Cossack squat, your knee does go in front of your toes, so you're gonna sit more like this. It's much more quad dominant. It requires more ankle mobility as we discussed already. So when I'm doing the lateral lunge to the box, what's important to remember is you are actually going to adopt more of a Cossack squat movement, which means that you're going to let your knee come over your toe and you're gonna come here. You're not going to send your butt back. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's a different technique and a different exercise. So when you're doing the lateral lunge to the box, allow your knee to come over your toe, sit down, and use your strength to get back up. If you want, you can continue to lower it, or from there, you can even add extra weight by holding onto a weight in a goblet position. One thing I wanna make very clear for the box position, a lot of people, number one, they try and do it to this side of the box, which makes it a little bit more difficult. I always try and have the corner out and put underneath me so it's much easier and less likely to make you fall. I also put it closer to the side that I'm lunging to. For some reason, everyone wants to have everything symmetrical and they do it in the middle. It doesn't make any sense. Let it shift over to the one side, to the side that you're lunging to make it easier for you to sit to there. And then from there, like I said, if you want, you can hold on to weight and load it heavier. Or let's say the box, I'm gonna just keep talking because you can hear me because I've got audio. Let's say the box is too high. Well, now you can start lowering it to something else. Yoga block here. I could be like this, sit down, go to the block, come back up until eventually you can get to a point where you can come all the way down and then come all the way back up. Now, when we're talking about the technique of the Cossack squat, there are a couple things to keep in mind, but what I really wanna make clear from the very beginning is, let's say you think you have the mobility and you have the strength, but for some reason, it's difficult for you to hold the bottom position. I would encourage you to start with holding a light weight. The light weight is actually gonna act, I'll start from the top, it's gonna act as a counterbalance. So when I come down, it's actually easier for me to get in this position while keeping this heel down than if I was without any weight whatsoever. You can actually see my heel wants to come up. This helps push me down. Now I have some to improve my Cossack squat because eventually I'd like to get to a point where I can easily come down. You see my heel coming up slightly here, and my heel coming up slightly here. I'm getting better, actually, there you go, heel slightly down, but I'm reaching out here, and this is acting as a counterbalance. It's much easier. That's actually good. I'm pretty stoked with that. It's much easier when you're holding this because this pushes you down. It gives you more ankle mobility. What you can do is you can start here with the weight. And number one, the heavier weight you use, the easier it's going to be, up to a point, obviously. And a progression would simply be getting down to this position with lighter weight. Then eventually, let's say you get to this position with lighter weight and you wanna be able to do it without the weight, you can put it down and use less and less and less of your hand so you can be in this position. That's actually fucking awesome. I'm pretty stoked about that. I've been working on this for a while. Once you can get to this position, now you need less and less and less weight. But you can hold it, let go, hold it for 5 seconds, hold it again, bring yourself back into position. Then you'll actually be developing the hip flexor strength and the ankle mobility strength to hold yourself in that deeper position. Another thing to keep in mind with the Cossack squat here, when you're doing a lateral lunge, sort of like I spoke about earlier, a lateral lunge is where you send your hips back to the wall behind you. This isn't that same movement. A lateral lunge, you send your hips back, you get a lot more glute. It looks more like a squat, for example. Whereas for the Cossack squat, you get way more knees, so you actually come forward here and you sit into it. So when I'm doing this, my toes are not turned inward, they're actually turned outward, more external rotation. And when I come down, that will come up, doesn't have to. There are options where you keep it down just like this. If you're working on your side splits, you wanna get a little bit more adductor in there, but you can let your toe come up and you sink directly into this hip, getting requiring a lot more ankle mobility and a lot more quad and knee bend as well. Whereas a lateral lunge, you're not going anywhere near as deep and you're getting a lot more glute. Now, if you like this video, if you like the way I explained the exercises and the exercises that I chose, you might want to join my inner circle. I'm not gonna give you a whole long pitch, but I'm gonna give you a little pitch. And I know every single fitness influencer has their own fitness app now, but even though I'm biased, I think mine is pretty damn good. Every single month, we get new workout programs. There are already a ton of workout programs in there. We have a whole year of dumbbell-only workout programs. If you only have access to dumbbells, we've got barbell, we've got full gym access, we've got everything you need. The vast majority of people in the inner circle are your average everyday individual. They're moms, they're dads, they're grandparents, they're young people. There are people who, they just wanna get stronger, they wanna get healthier, they wanna lose some body fat, they wanna like the way they look, they wanna be more confident, they wanna be more athletic. This is not for people who are high-level bodybuilders. This is not for people who are professional athletes, even though there are a couple of them in there. The vast majority of people in there are the everyday regular person who just wants to improve their health, their fitness, their strength, their mobility, and feel better about their life and incorporate fitness into their life, not incorporating their life into fitness. My wife also has many recipe guides in there to show what we eat and how you can make it at home. I just want to make fitness easy and accessible for everyone. So if that sounds like you and you want to give it a shot, I'll put the link in the description. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.